Nobody cares if you're pulling stuff up. Do the intro.
All right.
Hurry up.
No, we just...
That was it.
No.
Here we are.
Kill it. Yeah. You guys are the worst.
Just because it's you.
Just for you.
Hello. Welcome to Entertain This, a podcast about movies, TV shows, and video games. I am Hayden, and with me I have...
Mitch.
And Tom.
And our special guest speaker, Spencer.
Yay.
Hello. How's it going?
Spencer, what do you do?
Well, it's a multifaceted question. Do sound for production.
Like...
So this is
there it is.
Wilhelm scream.
Yes, indeed, the Wilhelm scream. That's post sound, famously invented by Ben Burt.
Oh yeah.
He's the one who made the Wilhelm scream, like the famous in joke for film sound. But I not only do post sound, but I also do sound on production, and that's a world that I feel people know even less about than post sound. So I'm excited to talk about that a little bit.
For actual production, recording on set and stuff like that.
Exactly.
A very underestimated field.
Indeed.
You guys are just getting ran over left and right in productions and stuff. So I know you and I have worked together, and I don't want to talk too much about our actual work together. Not until the show is on its way out and stuff.
Sure.
So, but feel free to use your experiences whenever necessary. We don't have to specifically talk about the show that we worked on, though.
Sure.
But so, Spencer, every episode we do a punishment where the three of us find a terrible movie, TV show, or video game for one of us to play or watch.
We spin a wheel, and then someone gets the business.
Yeah. And last week I got the business, so yes. I had to review a video game called Leisure Suit Larry.
Box office bust.
Box office bust. So let me knock that out real quick.
Oh, boy.
I wasn't going to buy the stupid game, so I watched a lot of playthroughs. And
taking the lazy way out.
I'm sorry.
That's what we've been saying for several episodes.
Do we want to spend money on equipment, or do we want to spend money on stupid video games?
All right, at this point, we have the equipment.
We still don't have headphones, though, Mitch.
Don't look at me. I've bought one set of headphones
Well,
and our capture card.
I don't need to
now.
buy no set. I found out my Turtle Beaches for my Xbox work now. For this.
All right. So the short of it is this came out in 2008 for Xbox 360, Leisure Suit Larry. And,
did it really?
Yeah. Apparently, since 1987, these Leisure Suit games have been coming out, and they're like quasi-soft porn video games that were like started with Atari and whatnot, and then eventually they launched towards console, and this one was the first one under a new developer, and it was considered one of the worst video games ever made. And it shows. It very much is.
Is there like actual gameplay, or is it kind of like not all plumbers wear ties or something?
No. That was basically it. Not all plumbers wear ties or whatever that game was. Basically a PowerPoint. This is like you wander around, and you're at some. I guess it's a porn studio in Hollywood.
Well, naturally. And
you're some dude named Larry, and you're wandering around doing you're removing graffiti, you're running errands for people, you're not doing anything as far as like film stuff, So more or less, you're just kind of just an errand boy. But then there's some subplot or the main plot. I don't really know. It's about this guy outside of the company that's working to try and bring it down from the inside. So some, I guess, porn company competition, whatever. It's stupid. The game, it being an adult rated, well, it's M, but they pride themselves on the fact that there's no nudity in this game. So
really,
no. That was like they're like, we don't want to resort to cheap entertainment to try and
as opposed to what they regularly do.
Yeah, but like all their humor is, wiener jokes and just stupid stuff like that. So it was. I don't want to say it was like the worst game ever, but it's up there. IGN did a pretty good article on it, describing it like they reserve scores below 2 for like the worst games that ever existed that should not have been made. Don't ever buy this game.
It's got a 1.
It has like a 1.8. So yeah.
It's like you got credit for actually putting together something. That's it.
Yeah, it's got a weird cast. It's got Jeffrey Tambor.
That was Jeffrey Tambor then.
It was, yes. And it has Artie Lang.
Before his nose collapsed from cocaine.
Yep. Carmen Electra. A whole bunch of people in it that are probably ashamed that they are. And but for the most part, it was like it was just mundane tasks, just walking around, driving golf carts, and getting yelled at by a bunch of people for doing stupid stuff. And like the animation was just, it was disgusting. It wasn't even like an interesting animation, like beautiful graphics or anything like that. It was just it was just bad. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend this game either. I would say good job. It was a well done punishment. So
in other words, next time we got to do the first and not the sequel to it.
Well, apparently there's like multiple games, but when I was looking for horrible punishments, like this, like I kept finding this game.
Yeah, that one.
And everybody's like Leisure Suit Larry box office bust.
Everybody says that one's the worst one, and it shows. I mean, just like there's nothing bad besides like the language. If you want to YouTube it and put yourself through 10 minutes of punishment watching one of the intro videos or something like that. So.
I put the trailer for it on the website.
Were there zombies in it?
I didn't see any zombies for
because they were in the trailer.
The hour that I watched,
and like they ripped off the Ferris Bueller song. Boom, boom. But also it had Patrick Warburton in it.
Yeah.
In the game, Shannon Elizabeth, Jay Moore.
Yeah, David Tell.
David Tell. I'm like, for a gaming voice cast, it's like, all right, you didn't do bad, but at the same time, it's like
Artie Lang talked about it. I read one thing where he talked about this is one of the best paying gigs he ever got. I'm sure he went straight to cocaine right after that. But
no, he was probably on coke when he did it.
Probably. So yeah, terrible game. All right,
what would you rate it though?
I mean, it. I think whatever the scope of the producer's vision was achieved. It was just a really crappy scope. So I'd say I'd give it like a 3 or a 4. So, but yeah.
Not good. Not a good game.
No. I mean, like if they had set their sights higher and maybe, I don't know, didn't do a video game about producing porn. And I'm not saying that I condone adult rated material or stuff like that, but if you're doing a game about making porn and then not having porn in it, I definitely don't understand what's going on.
That's like a car game, but you're not allowed to drive.
Yeah. But whatever. Anyway,
you're just a mechanic.
Yeah.
You just take
You're the
care
mechanic's
of the
assistant. You just sit there next to him, like he's just underneath the car or whatever, and he's just like, hand me the thing.
You're like the guy doing the paperwork or something like that.
So I actually had an idea for a game like that, but it was for like a film studio, and you'd be a PA, and you'd just be running around having to do the tasks in a certain amount of time.
You start off as nothing.
I want it to be a mobile game. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I bet you there's something like that out there. So
it should be like GTA style.
Yeah. Start off with nothing, then own an empire.
It's like you didn't get this paperwork to so and so in time. It's like the project's been like totally derailed, and then your character just goes wasted, or just goes fired.
Yeah,
I'd play that.
You can say you coined it here and entertain this, Spencer.
Perfect.
So
before Evil Entertain This launches their own mobile game.
Yeah, we have so when we created
this,
we created this podcast a year ago, and then like a month after we created this, our podcast is entertain this ! Another podcast showed up out of nowhere, entertain this ...
Oh my god!
All right, and everything we've done, they have copied since then.
Like we came out with a website and like talked about it, like we're gonna have a website. The next week, they had a website.
Yeah. It doesn't help that one of their people, I looked up their stuff, he's a web designer, so that's his job.
Yeah.
But that late in the game, but we had the idea, and like as you said, .net was still available when we took .com.
Yeah, when I looked up all the stuff that you could purchase, like to buy the domain name, it was available. So
we're smoking them and everything though, like on all of our downloads and reviews.
We could beat them in Warzone.
So yeah, we could beat
I bet they don't have as many wins.
So
the garbage.
But yeah, so speaking of which, we actually have a social media. Mitch, he does all of our plugs and stuff like that. So
plug the media.
Go for it.
Well, firstly, you can just go to entertainthispodcast.com, and that'll take you to all the social media. But
is there an exclamation point in that?
There is not.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't let you do that. for domain names.
Okay.
But you can go to that. It'll take you to all the social media through some clicks and stuff. But we have our Facebook group, which is Entertain This podcast group. We have the Entertain This page on Facebook. We have our Twitter, which is @this.entertain. We have our Instagram, which is entertain.this. And then we also have the Patreon. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, money.
If you guys want to just...
We have a Twitch, entertain_this.
Yes.
If you want to buy our headphones for us. So...
Or if you want to buy the game so Hayden can actually play them and suffer instead of just watching others do it and then talking about what he watched.
I'll make you guys suffer while we play Xbox. So I'll just play in the
Yeah,
background.
that was like a shit. That was bull. For those of you who don't know, we were playing Warzone and he had died, or we were waiting for Mitch was like resetting his internet or something, and I just hear him watching a playthrough on his phone, and I'm just sitting like, is that Jeffrey Tambor? I'm like,
Yeah.
what is he watching? I'm like, he's watching Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, you picked my punishment, so I'm going to make you suffer one way or another. So, yeah.
Boo.
Nah. All right, so now what we do is we try every episode, find one thing for TV shows, news, and reviews, and same for movies and video games. And the three of us just breeze over some stuff that's going on right now. And if you know or hear anything about what we're talking about, feel free to chime in.
Cool. Yeah.
So, but movies, who's got that?
I do. Godzilla vs. Kong. Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it now.
Don't bother.
You're not missing.
You're not. You're not.
I've kind of unsubscribed to that area of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Big monsters and lizards beating the crap out of each other.
Well, yeah, just like the big. I'm having a hard time with the blockbusters these days.
Yeah. Not a big fan of the MCU or Star Wars or
I
any of that stuff.
definitely can't do the MCU.
No.
Yeah,
So
it's too much for me.
You were telling me earlier, Mitch, it's the highest grossing streaming movie
During
of
the
all
pandemic.
time during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
made $30.7 million.
Wait, so how?
It's a streaming. I don't know.
Well, it's in theaters,
HBO.
too.
Is it? Is it
Is it in theaters?
Oh, so box office
Yeah.
wise, it made $30 million.
Yeah.
And
Really?
that's
Yeah.
that's the most that anybody has made.
In the pandemic?
Yes.
Wow, that's terrible. So
I don't think this movie's going to make its money back.
I don't think so either.
But
Not at all.
I mean, like HBO and stuff bought it out so that they could show it there, but it also goes to theaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I didn't buy an HBO account. I just used yours. Thank you. So the movie, I like the first two Godzilla movies from this universe that they did. This one was directed by somebody who didn't do one or two, or Godzilla and then King of Monsters. Tone is completely different.
Neon bright lights.
Neon bright light. It was more like Pacific Rim,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
but
felt.
minus Jaegers,
Yeah.
Well,
which
they had
probably would have
one.
been. Yeah, they had. Yeah, spoiler: Mecha Godzilla. Even though when the trailer first dropped, I was like Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you pause the trailer, you could see it right there.
Yeah.
That's him. That's Mecha Godzilla. And everybody's like, and then like another company had released a toy line for it, and they released Mecha Godzilla. Everybody's like, hey, we already know. But then I read like an article. Somebody's just like, oh yeah, like surprise character, and it's Mecha Godzilla. It's like nobody was surprised. You were surprised. Nobody else was. So the movie, apparently, Godzilla becomes a bad guy just out of nowhere. And they think, oh, Kong will save us because he's a big monkey. And he talks to this little girl who has a little doll. And they think that's like their brilliant plot. And then it just goes off the rails. It was dumb.
Yeah.
And then like the axe of
The Kong Excalibur.
the Kong Excalibur. A monkey has drawn the axe.
It was
And
dumb.
then the whole underworld. A lot of people have seen this movie, so I'm not afraid to spoil the crap out of it.
Journey to the center
Of the earth.
Yeah.
And it's like there's upside down Earth, Spencer. Like they have to go through this gravity portal, and then it's like they went plaid. Like
Which,
in,
by the way, they all of
Spaceballs.
a sudden have all this technology that allows them to do that just out of nowhere.
They don't even explain it.
Yeah, within like the
But this is
5-year
not-
period.
Like, this is not a futuristic movie.
No.
No,
This takes place right now.
the present, 2021.
Yeah.
So
That's a decision.
handsome Skarsgård writes this like,
Alexander Skarsgård. not his bug-eyed brother.
"Hi, Georgie." It's like you got Bug-Eye Skarsgård and Handsome Skarsgård, and then you got Papa Skarsgård.
old man Skarsgård.
They could do like their own Smurfs edition. That's totally Skarsgård. But they go through this like gravity portal crap, and they're like going down, like it's just like neon lights and stuff. It looks like, they were doing like light speed in Star Wars and then started making turns. So they go through this, and they have special ships with like magnet displacement and go to the center of the Earth. And there's there's no like sky and just goes to infinity. Like you took like a map and just went.
Yeah. It was like
just folded it over.
Yeah,
and there's like a volcano in the middle, but Kong crawls up it, and there's like rocks floating in stasis, and he pokes one, and it goes flying to the other side. And he's like, huh. And he just jumps in slow-mo flips and lands on the other side of it.
All right.
Where basically he's like standing on the ceiling.
Yeah, but the way to get there, like they bring him to Antarctica, and they have this like hole burrowed out. Yeah. And there's like all these like, plating and lights and all this other stuff. I'm like, this would have taken years to do. And conveniently, it was ready for this moment in time.
Yeah. Of course.
And they're like, oh, we can't get to the center of the Earth. This is ridiculous. But Godzilla shows up to destroy the Apex thing because they're like sending the signal to get him all amped up. And he like senses Kong's presence at the center of the Earth and atomic breaths his way from Hong Kong to the center of the Earth.
Yeah, he just drills down.
In like 2 minutes.
All right, let's wrap up this review in 2 minutes so we can get through the rest and then begin the meat and potatoes of the day.
Yeah.
So
and it's all about Godzilla versus Kong. They fight twice. They fight on ships, and Godzilla nearly drowns King Kong, and for some reason just doesn't continuously just tip the boats over. He smacks him around, gives him the business, almost drowns him, beats him up, and Kong goes to the surface. And he's all right, enough of that. And then he swims away.
The dumb part of the movie is...
There was a lot of dumb parts of the movie.
Like, Godzilla doesn't really care about people, I guess. Whatever.
But he's supposed to be the protector.
Kong tries to care about people, but you think he'd be, like, tiptoeing through the crowds or whatever?
Nope.
No, he's just like, rah, powering through
skyscrapers. Remember like those like cardboard blocks, like the bricks? It's like a little kid just like running through, like just knocking them all over because he can.
Stuff, jumping on ships.
He's knocking buildings over to get to Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. And then he fights Kong in Hong Kong, and he's smacking him around. He's like ripping him apart, and he like practically kills him. And then this was a stupid part that you thought was dumb as hell too, where they take their little magnet flying car, and Handsome Skarsgård like flies it and lands it on Kong's chest because he's dying, and they uses a defibrillator, which I'm like, why would you try to defibrillate him? He still has a heartbeat.
He just blows him up. Yeah.
So he like does that, jump starts Kong's heart.
Oh my.
And Kong comes in for the big fight. Him and Godzilla team up against Mecha Godzilla.
He does his wrist cuffs.
It's like if...
he does like the Henry Cavill from Mission Impossible. He's like... and then he does like the Martin Riggs, pop his shoulder back into place off a skyscraper.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's like Fast and Furious, stupid.
It was the Fast and Furious edition of Godzilla.
It was dumb. So
I waited a long time for this
1
movie.
out of 10, what do you give it?
This gets like a 5.
5? Yeah.
Like, I
it
mean,
had big monsters blowing up
generous.
stuff. Yeah.
There was little bits of it I liked, but it did not outweigh the amounts that I just sat there like, like in King of Monsters, I could suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
For that movie, I'm like, all right, I get it. Big monsters doing big stuff. Cool. I can watch this. This is fine.
All right.
This was just
news in 2 minutes. Go.
They finally have a release date again for
the new James Bond
movie, October 8th, 2021, which means it'll be delayed until March 22nd, 2024.
This movie's been done for...
This movie's been done since 2019.
Yeah.
Because this was supposed to come out like right around Christmas time, 2019, and then it got pushed into...
April or May of 2020.
It was like February
of
2020, and then COVID and all that happened.
Sean Connery could have seen this movie.
Sean Connery could have watched this, but they blew it.
You know why they had to do reshoots, right? Product placement.
Because of what? What do you mean?
Their product placement contracts had lapsed.
Okay.
Oh,
and so
that's what did this?
Yes. So they had to do reshoots.
Just to put in products?
Yeah, because it got delayed because of COVID, and then those contracts lapsed because of the product placement. Had to do reshoots for those products.
I would be so mad.
They're two They're two product placements, like what, Omega and Aston Martin.
I can't remember. I can't remember what they were.
They trade out the Aston Martin for like a Honda.
A Volvo. And it's not even a new one. You just got like some rusty like S7.
That's all we can get.
He's got the wagon. $200 car.
That's funny.
That'd be amazing. So the Bond movie that we may ever see in our lifetimes, and there's a new Transformers movie coming out. They just cast some dude I've never heard of. It's not being directed by Michael Bay, so it's not going to be an explosion.
I don't think
fest.
they let Michael Bay do anything anymore. You know?
No, I don't think they should.
He just collects money and
Blows-
harasses women.
Exploding penguins, total annihilation.
All right, Mitch, what do you got?
You got video games.
Go for it.
We've all been kind of playing the Bless Unleashed just a little bit after talking about the MMO RPGs. It's a free game. It came out, I guess, February of last year in 2020. But it's pretty good. It's not the best, but
It's a WoW clone.
yeah.
It is a WoW clone.
I mean, you can choose your class of like Berserker or Crusader or Mage kind of thing.
Wizard,
Yeah.
some.
You level up, you get the armor and level up stuff, and the best part about it is just you can play with your friends, just join into a group and
If you
go
can
and
figure
kill
that out.
monsters.
Yeah, it took a while for us to figure that one out.
I think it has to do with the cutscenes. Once you get to a certain point, then you can play with each other.
It's one of those Korean games, and but I mean, it's pretty and it's free. So
And if you got one person that plays a lot, they can just join in with a new person and just kill all their people for them.
power.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Because we're all playing, and I just started the game like an hour before, so I'm like level 3. You were like level 4 or 5.
Yeah, we
Me and Hayden figured out how to meet, and then Mitch shows up and like scared the crap out of me because I thought he was a bad guy. Because your character's like 22 feet tall, like red hulking monster with
He's a
armor
berserker.
on, and like
So,
a battle axe.
You enjoy it. You're gonna keep playing it for a while.
Yeah, I'll keep playing it. I mean, it's something that I play when there's nobody else on or whenever y'all want to play it.
Well, we're trying to play with our audience if anybody ever wants to play Warzone or all the games that we have. In fact, we're going to do a 1-year special for our next episode, and we'll do some Let's Play stuff and whatnot. So if you want to participate in what we do,
I want to say you
by
can
all means.
build up to 7 or 8 like people in a group
for the
to play
game.
with.
Yeah.
In Bless Unleashed?
Yeah.
Really?
And, yeah, because
That's a pretty sizable party.
as long as there's room on the server, you can build up. I think up to 8 people like in your party or whatever.
Wow.
So
Cool.
It's free to play.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll preface that for some of you. It's free.
News.
Well, there's the Rust game. It's been on PC, but it's coming to Xbox and PS5 on May 21st.
Yep.
Which it's kind of a multiplayer. It's only multiplayer, and it's like a kind of a cross between Minecraft and PUBG, where basically you have to craft all your weapons and supplies and stuff like that, build your stuff, and then you get to keep your things. But it's kind of like the Tarkov game, where if you die, you kind of lose your stuff.
If you die, you die.
Yeah.
You dead.
But you can create and join factions, so you have like your little group or team or whatever. So
Yeah.
it should be interesting.
That does sound fun.
And then next month, well, actually this month now, it's April. You have the Pokemon Snap. There's gonna be a new version of that coming out.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna focus on like the original plus like I think like the next 2 or 3 generations after the original one. And you'll go to different islands or whatever, and you can search for Pokemon and all that stuff. It's like the original one was like a rail kind of like you're riding on this little cart. This one will be like a full explorer.
A rail shooter.
Yeah. But
That's what it was.
A real shooter against Pokemon.
It was a rail shooter. You shot Pokemon with a camera.
But in this one, you try to get the highest picture like rating or whatever. You'll try to fill out your little Pokédex thing, and you're trying to uncover the Illumina phenomenon, which I don't know what that means yet. But we'll find out.
I've given up on Pokemon forever.
Yeah.
So,
I have. Remember, like when that was on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Like there was one kid at our school who had figured out how to print the pictures.
Yeah. Well, you could take them to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or whatever.
Yeah,
at the
like
time.
yes. Remember that was a big deal back in the 90s.
all right. TV shows. So,
What'd you watch?
Winter Soldier. It sucks.
It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good. And we have the 3 of us, like we went to where they shot it, and I guess I don't know. Can we say?
I don't know.
Nah.
We know where it was filmed.
We know where it was filmed. We were there, and we had high expectations just from the amount of work and money they poured into this thing. And they used just the one scene that we saw. They used probably like
They were
15
filming for like
seconds.
3 days, and it was less than a 5-minute part of the show in one episode.
and it was. I don't want to say it was lazy writing. It was stupid writing. This guy breaks out of jail in like this mash cut sequence, and we don't understand what happened. He's just like in a cell. Next thing you know, he's beating up a guard, and he's like walking out in uniform.
Somehow he has this key card to his cell. He's like a super like high level supervillain kind of character.
Yeah,
He's like genius level intellect.
He's got this whatever security card somehow. You got the Winter Soldier just drops off this note to some random guard or random inmate, and they start a big fight, which allows this other guy to use the card. choke out the guard that's right in front of him, put on the guard uniform, and escape.
Well, the thing is,
Wait, the Winter Soldier's locked up there too?
No, he's just like visiting.
the thing is, this show was like always planned to be launched on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Always intended to be a streaming show. They've delayed it so many times, and I really think it's because the production just looked like a mess. You know, they just couldn't figure out what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it's dumb writing. The characters are shallow. What's the deal with Sam and Bucky like going through couples counseling and stuff together?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with all that. That they are. They're like basically they have to sit like knee to knee and look each other in the eye and tell each other how they're feeling.
And what kills me is like this is one of the shows I was looking forward to the most, like more than WandaVision and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just because I really like the Winter Soldier character and I like Falcon.
I like their dynamic, like in the Marvel movies.
Right.
Like they're like it was almost like brothers who just hated each other, but like it was just so comedic. It's like I could watch a show about that.
Well, like when
this show's not about that.
In Civil War, when the two of them are fighting Spider-Man, that's hilarious and it's good action and stuff. And now it's just it's almost like just
Lazy.
Two adults fighting. A married couple fighting over stuff. It's like okay.
It's silly.
Dumb.
All right. Well, there's that. So,
You also have the U.S. agent.
oh yeah, was that the girl?
Is it the U.S. Asian?
Agent,
Oh.
which is John Walker.
Oh, the new Captain America. Nah, no.
Oh, there's a lot of memes about it.
We don't gotta get into all that mess. I mean, it could be a spoiler, whatever. Yeah, it's it's Kurt Russell's son. What's his name? Wyatt Russell. Yeah,
I don't remember.
I just remember it's like,
The last name makes sense.
there's just been a lot of memes about him, like that dopey looking face.
yeah. He's got this like scrunched face in the Captain America.
He's the
helmet.
Wish version of Captain America.
Jeez.
That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, there you go. Let's go ahead and move on to our big to do now that we got Spencer and everything. So, Spencer, walk us through. Pretend that we're third graders and we have no idea how sound production works. All right. What do you do on set?
On set specifically.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Sure. So a big part of this is like, getting the right gear for the job. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of jobs in film. But, it's the biggest thing is having collaboration between your different departments.
Yeah.
And with the right level of collaboration and with the right level of a budget, you can start talking to people early on and go on the location scouts and start talking with costume department, make sure that we're not going to have loud costumes, that we can put moleskin on the bottoms of the actors' feet, and,
right.
all sorts of things. So like it can start in pre-production of putting all those pieces together. Once you're on set, it's just about getting the gear connected, and making sure that mic placement is good, and then in production you're always looking forward to post.
Right.
It's all about what am I capturing here that's going to give them the best thing in post.
Right.
So going above and beyond on set can be beneficial, but only if that's what they need in post. If they don't need that in post, then you're actually slowing production down. So.
Speaking from a person who's worked on both sides, like I've done sound mixing for set and stuff before, and then I've worked as like the guy that's got to make the decision, like just to overrun sound and let's get this shot done and get it done,
Sure.
so we can move on. And sound is always like the redheaded stepchild of the set. They're always beaten up, and you have the exact personality of like the sound guy that should be. Like
I've developed a tough skin.
Yeah, you have to just be like, all right, whatever.
No, sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's about getting your way, because sometimes, again, it's all about post. It's like, you have to explain to the director, like, if we do not get this way here, you're going to have a really tough time.
In post.
Have a really tough time.
Yeah. And I've seen that. I've seen how one stupid sound effect can just ruin everything, so. Yeah. Clown horn. But it is important. One way, especially if your production staff doesn't really understand the sound realm and they don't come from that. Right. They all come from writing or whatever, and you have to explain to them like you are to us right now.
That becomes part of your job.
Yeah.
Is and that's why I like the collaboration up front, because I can sit down with the director, and if they're not experienced with capturing good sound on set and making sure that they have what they need, you can explain those things, and the more they know, the better they can assist you, because they can bring you that collaboration. It's like they didn't realize, like, oh, I didn't know that sound needed to come to the location scout.
Yeah.
Now you know that there's a factory behind this, damn location that's just you know, going crazy, or
air conditioning unit won't stop squeaking or something like
there
that.
was I was on a feature once that every single one of our major locations was next to a train track, not near a train track, not
next to it.
Next to the train tracks, and this was like 4 or 5 different locations. It was amazing. I'd never seen such coordination. But it was that
Did you get to scout
if I had been on those location scouts, we could have at least talked about it and and worked something out.
So is it all MOS, which stands for? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about it. ADR. Hope you got a nice budget.
Explain what MOS and ADR and all that stuff is for us.
Sure. MOS, it comes from German. There's like some in-jokes about that, but it basically mit out sound. And like, because a lot of Germans were working in the film industry.
Right.
And so they would like mash up the German and English. Mit
that what
means
that-
with,
I never heard
without
that.
sound.
So I don't know. Everybody just always said mute on sound. And
Yeah,
I was like, I don't think that's what
it's kind of like morphed into that because people don't know the history. But
So MOS means we're not recording audio.
we're not recording audio. We're just recording video, and
Which means you get to chill.
right,
For
which
now.
is not necessarily what I want to be doing. I'm happy to be doing my job on set, and sometimes depending on what we're shooting, even if everyone's screaming MOS, I'm like, let's just record sound anyway. It doesn't hurt,
You can get reference audio.
Transferring sound from an SD card to a computer takes about 2 minutes, regardless of how much you have recorded on set. So like, let's just get it all.
And even if you have trains, making noise in the background, how much do you appreciate reference audio for footsteps or whatever?
Oh, it's a great deal in post. Again, it's just giving them what they need. So if I think that it would be helpful, let's just get it.
So reference audio being what? Can you explain that? Like you couldn't use that, but for post.
Reference audio is just giving, like, it's exactly what it sounds like. So, it's giving whoever's in post a reference, for, it can inform 2 things. It can inform a story decision, but it can also inform a technical decision. Like, I'm glad that we have this reference here. We need to do this in post, or we're going to have to rebuild this atmosphere because it's just not what the director wants.
Okay.
If you are in a house, and actually a better example is if you're in a hotel, because a lot of those hotel rooms, you can't actually turn off the air conditioning.
Yeah.
You don't have that control. You only have the control up and down, and it's within a certain, boundaries. So if you don't go to the hotel in advance and say, hey, can we get the air conditioning shut off on this floor of the hotel?
Right.
You're going to have air conditioning in that sound. So, again, I go to the director and was like, okay, well, we know that we can't get rid of this air conditioning. If you want this to be an intimate, quiet scene, likely we're going to have to do this ADR because of the location.
Right.
And so we'll record on set, we'll get it, and then we'll take it into post. And if we can't get it feeling the way the director wants, it's good to know that. And then you can do your ADR. You can, you just,
ADR stands for what?
ADR is automated dialogue replacement.
Okay.
A little bit of a misnomer because it's not automated at all.
Yeah.
It's a very, very tough process.
Yeah.
That I think it's the most underrated is not the word, but like underestimated, I guess, process in film. People are like, oh, just ADR it.
Oh, I was going to say it was the most abused form of film.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah,
certainly,
like,
but
don't worry, we'll ADR it. And then you got to get some guy to sit in a set and, loop his lines. You want to explain that process.
Well, so I'll say this. I think the easiest way to get my way on set, especially when we're recording dialogue that matters.
Yeah.
Not that not all dialogue matters, but we really need it to be right in this scene. And the director's in a rush, and we're trying to get the shot, and actors didn't memorize their lines or whatever. He's like, we'll just ADR it later.
Yeah.
So then you pull out your pen and a piece of paper. Then you say, okay, how long is this scene? How many characters are we going to have to ADR? And then you start adding up those totals for what a studio you're doing professional ADR for is. they start taking you very seriously.
Yeah, that's one way to get their attention.
Yeah. Especially a very budget conscious production.
Yeah.
And then it's not just about money, because the process itself is difficult, and unless you have somebody really skilled doing it, it's not going to be good. So you've wasted both. You wasted time on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, like the trifecta of film production has always been money versus people versus time. You know, and especially with as guerrilla warfare as sound production can be, you know, you don't have a lot of people. I mean, what's the most amount of people you've seen work sound on a movie?
On an indie set?
Biggest anything?
One that I worked on, or one that I've seen in general? Because like your typical feature should have like a 5 to 8 to maybe 10 person sound team.
Yeah, and that's to like record a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's a big production feature. You know,
where your camera crew is gonna have like,
oh, insane! It's like a whole village.
Yeah. So
yeah. But on an indie set, you know, the most I've had for my own team, I've had 2 other people.
Wow.
And that's tremendous.
I mean,
it makes a huge difference.
But I mean, to be honest, realistically, you'll see just one guy. Like,
oh, absolutely. No,
you're
that's
mixing
very
it
common.
and booming.
Yeah. If I've gotten to the point, especially for some of these indie features.
Yeah.
I won't take the job if they don't guarantee me an A2.
Really?
Yeah, it's tough work, and like having somebody to just run and like somebody that you trust to go and run a lav on somebody while you're setting up the mixer, while you're making sure that, you know, you've got a PA running around turning off all the air conditioning and, you know, telling people to shut up.
Right.
It's very tremendous. It makes it the quality, you know, like the money that you put into that 2-person team.
Yeah.
The quality is quadruple.
I bet.
You know, it makes a huge difference.
I bet. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to the indie scene also for film production, and having a bunch of PAs that their first time on set kind of stuff, and that's cool. But sound suffers the most because everybody's always loud. Everybody's always got to just like, you know, giggle or something in the background.
I'm pretty sure in Zen filmmaking there is no sound people.
That's another thing. One of our punishments.
They didn't hire anybody.
Zen filmmaking is what's this guy's name? Scott?
Neil Breen.
No, it's not Neil Breen.
Oh, no, it's not
Neil Breen's a genius.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Neil Breen does the sound also.
Scott Shaw.
Scott Shaw.
Yeah. So his filmmaking philosophy
style
is that you just get a camera. Don't worry about audio. You'll just record right off the camera, and just take it as it comes. Have an idea of a script. Not even like a real script, just like a plot line.
Nothing actually tangible that you can hold in your hand. It's like you had a thought, you tell other people, and then you just film that.
It's just to go with
like
the flow
slow
style filming.
Yeah. You guys know about slow cinema, right?
What?
It's
No.
just like 3-hour long movies. That,
Oh, yeah.
You know, just very meditative, and you're watching. You know, you're really experiencing the entrance and exit of every character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is not
that-
like that.
Is that what you want to work on full time?
Oh, not necessarily. I do enjoy watching those films, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So take us through the history of sound, if you will.
sure. How in depth do you want?
So what's like the first sound recorded for film?
Okay, I'll give you the Jazz Singer.
All right.
That's kind of the most well-known like synced sound feature film.
All right.
It was a big deal, released by Warner Brothers.
Was this 1912?
20s,
20s?
I think 26.
Okay.
If I had to throw out a year, but I could be very wrong.
And
But it was around that time.
Did they record on set or did they post anything?
So this was recorded on set. It's a big process to make this happen. You're hiding mics everywhere. I mean, they made huge strides in just figuring out how to like get a mic in a scene without it being seen.
Right. Because mics were huge back then.
They were pretty big.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about like being like you have to be in a studio, right? Like you're not going on the location,
Right.
And recording sound. So it's very primitive still, in terms of like creative, like freedom and the ability. Like a director's not going to just sit down like I want to go shoot in the Himalayas.
Yep.
We're going to record dialogue and. You know, it's like that would be ridiculous. You'd
Right.
be laughed off and never work again.
Right.
So yeah, all studio stuff, and it started out very simple. Jazz Singer is the biggest accomplishment for it was the synced singing.
Right.
So that it contains singing, and the fact that people were amazed that you could see this guy singing and then hear it at the same time, and
Right.
it just like match up. And it was mind blowing to people. But that wasn't like people had been experimenting in this kind of realm for a long time.
Right.
It had a lot of resistance in a couple different areas. It was expensive.
Yeah.
Technology wasn't there. Specifically, just getting it to sync up that was like the biggest issue.
Right. How did they do that?
So there were a couple early methods. I think some early experiments were using a phonograph. A spinning disc vinyl record.
Right. Okay.
And then showing it on film and projecting the film, and they had devices that would, very physical manual devices that would work in between those two things to try to get them to sync up. But there was a lot of drift.
I bet.
And
because what listeners need to understand is like, even today, audio recorded goes to a different unit than what the camera records from.
Well, and it's not always that way.
Not always.
There are that's what's known as the two system method, or using two different devices, like you were saying.
Right.
But then there are like single source methods to record it directly on.
It depends on the shot and what you have available at the time, obviously. But so I guess like what they figured out for the jazz singers is that there's no way they could record video and audio to the same unit at the time.
Right. I mean, yeah, it was very early, like it was apparent to them early on that like the best way to go about this is to do two different devices, find a way to sync them up. And then it was the finding the way to sync them up that was the biggest technological hurdle.
Because even today, if you have something that just records at a different like hertz or something like that, it'll just drift, like you said, drift. The song will just be like a half a second slower than the mouth moving. And then all of a sudden,
before you know it, it's completely out of sync.
It's off. And you can't really like figure out where
to fix that.
As it,
you just got to do it all over again.
Yeah, basically. Somebody messed up along the line.
Yeah. So
they're pretty much making up the technology.
So since then,
I know what you're about to ask.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about it because this is what like kind of spurred everything from that period on, right? And well, actually, before I say that, Warner Brothers was the biggest technological innovator in this area, and the reason why they were doing that is because they were young, they were stupid, and they didn't have much to lose, so they were willing to innovate and try new things to bring in new audiences. And so they were like, sound for film, sounds crazy, let's do it. And they pushed the boundaries. They worked with AT&T, and they were like audio experimentation labs, was known as Bell Labs then, and they worked with them to start creating all these standards. And eventually, the studios, once they felt comfortable with the technology, and that's where we're leading on to in a second, they signed on to agree on a standard for audio to film.
Okay.
And then that was a big deal because once they all agreed on that, everyone could work in the same medium and they could all, make sound films. And not really have to like compete against these different standards. And you have this one piece of equipment that records this standard.
So the studio kept basically freelance market for themselves. So they didn't Warner Brothers didn't monopolize sound.
Right. I mean, it's kind of amazing if you look back on it, especially with the market conditions, the fact that they decided to come together and agree on a standard versus like Warner Brothers investing a lot of time and energy into this new format. And then keep it for themselves.
Movies would be completely different today.
It would, yeah. I mean, it was a big thing, a big win for the art. So,
cool.
So moving on, the big thing was sound to tape or sound to film. And once that happened, like all the technological progress started like really churning. I mean, it wasn't as initially the sound on film, being represented in light, being reproduced via light information was a big. It was kind of crazy.
When you say light information, what do you mean by that?
Well, so I mean, the way film works is that you have this information on there, and then you're projecting light through it, and that's what's reproducing the information. It's the same process for the sound, and it uses light to read the information recorded on the film,
Right.
And then it would reproduce that using the loudspeakers in the theater.
Okay.
But it wasn't the fidelity wasn't good.
Okay.
And the amplitude was really quiet.
Right.
And it
was bastardized a lot. There was a lot of static and hiss.
Yeah, it was terrible, and a lot of people didn't like that, obviously, for a lot of reasons, and it wasn't ideal, especially when you're coming from phonograph records that people are very comfortable with, and the fidelity on them at the time was like the best you can get.
Right.
The dynamic range was good. It reproduced frequencies pretty well.
Right.
Then you get to sound on film, not as good, but very convenient.
Right.
In fact, it's you can finish a film, sounds on there, everything's on there. You just feed it through the machine. It goes out to its speakers, project it onto the screen. Boom, you're done. That takes care of synchronization. No drift, no separate things to get missed or anything. So that was a big deal. And once in collaboration with Bell Labs, they figured out how to amplify that sound on film in the correct way, getting it to the loudspeakers to fill an auditorium, and the rest is history after that.
Really?
I think the last thing I have to add that I think made a huge difference is the coming of sound to film forced our standard to be 24 frames per second.
Okay.
Before then, the standard was 16 frames per second, and sometimes the frame rates would be changed. You would undercrank the camera to get different effects, or you would overcrank the camera so that you could fit more films into a shorter period of time.
Undercrank means slow down. Overcrank means speed up. Okay, so you would have, if you're at 16 frames, you could drop down to what, 12?
Yeah, I mean, you can go as slow as you want, really. I mean, if you want
Even back then, though? I don't know.
Kind of, yeah. So, I mean, because all it is you're changing the rate at which the frame goes past.
Right, the aperture opens and closes. But so why did sound basically solidify 24 frames?
Well, have you ever heard what happens when you slow down sound that was recorded at a certain frame rate with film?
Okay.
Distorts it.
So they started at 24 because if they had to slow down the picture, they needed to have some wiggle room for sound. Is that what it was?
So this is just I'm only speaking on presentation. The standard presentation was 16 frames per second, and then they would overcrank or undercrank depending on the needs of the theater.
Right.
If you can show 3 movies in the same span of time as one, then you might do that, because if it's set to music, it doesn't really matter. So you just overcrank it a little bit.
That's why some of the silent films were they look like they're moving around really fast and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, movement is definitely a little wonky and not as naturalistic. Yeah. So 24 frames became the standard. I think, because if presentation is 24 frames, your sound is set to that, then you're good to go. And every theater knows you put it that your sound's gonna be right. Yeah, gonna look good. So
yeah, today though, let's say we record something in slow motion. I mean, like a shotgun blast or something like that. You're going to basically do all of that post work as far as sound goes.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Let's talk about Foley.
Sure.
Now that we're slipping into post work. Who's Foley? Who is Foley?
He was this guy who figured out how to create an art out of moving little, I would say, shoes with his hands. Yeah. That's a really dumbed down way.
Did it start with footsteps? Was that like the original Foley?
So the thing about Foley is that it really is a very specific in terms of being more human movements, and being reproduced live to picture in a studio. And that's because sometimes people will mistake and think Foley is all the sound effects that weren't captured on set. Right. Recreated in post, and that's not always the case.
Sometimes it's also you know, I don't know, that dude's footsteps sound weird. You know, and so like, let's see if we can Foley. What Foley means is like engineered fake sound effects. So they'll get a guy in a studio with a microphone, and they'll get like, you know, platform shoes, and he'll exaggerate the sound effect. And sometimes being more radical and ridiculous with the sound effect sounds weird, but when you composite it with the actual image,
it makes sense.
It just sounds so much better for some reason. You know, like if you just hear like a little, you know, like little pop or something like that for a neck breaker, like that's it, you know. But then if you're breaking sticks, like popsicle sticks in front of a microphone, it sounds more brutal and visceral.
Yeah,
you know, that's what people go for.
Well, it's just about getting the right emotionality out of what the director wants. If it wants a very naturalistic and real sound to their film, you're not going to use celery to break those bones. You're going to use something a lot.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. I remember seeing that for like The Walking Dead, where like they would do like there'd be some sort of sound effect, and like the guy'd have like this whole thing and start just go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know, like for was it Into the Badlands? I tried to watch that show, and he's doing all the martial arts stuff. And when he would like hit somebody, it almost sounded like they were just turning rubber. Like, it's like, wait, that doesn't sound right.
That's the sound it makes when you hit somebody.
There was way too many breaks.
And sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
It depends on a good Foley artist. Hard to come by, but they're special.
Yeah.
It's a process.
And Foley Studios are like the funniest looking places ever. What's some of
they
the
look like junkyards?
Yeah, what's some of the goofiest things you've seen people use Foley?
Oh man, I mean, I've done a good amount of Foley work in my time because, again, you know, just as on set, you know, you're expected to be the one-man band.
Right.
Unfortunately, you're also considered to be the one-man band for post, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's almost worse than being one-man band on production.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've used all sorts. I mean, anything you could find around a house, around.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I don't know if I know of something that's the weirdest.
It's like if I take this ice cube tray and drop it at this precise height onto this linoleum floor.
So you know,
perfect.
That's the right sound.
You know the scene in Jurassic Park where the T-Rex bursts in the museum and starts chewing on the raptor.
Mm-hmm.
They got a plastic toy and they threw it at a dog surrounded with microphones. The dog just like, rah, rah, rah. And that's what they recorded for they distorted it a little bit.
It's just somebody's golden retriever eating a toy.
A lot of the dinosaurs and a lot of monster sounds are pretty natural.
Yeah.
Like they're
mostly
animal
animals.
sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a lot of birds, a lot of reptiles, a lot of all sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, any creature you could think of, they'll use it and combine it into
well,
into a monster.
I got a game.
Oh boy.
So here's what
Would
we're
you
gonna
like
do.
to play a game?
I'm gonna play this sound
I don't know if I
effect.
signed up for this.
Let's see if
You
you
didn't sign up for anything, Spencer.
let's see if you A, can identify the movie, and B, identify how they made the sound. Some of these are gonna be pretty obvious. So let's start with this one.
Is that just a guy farting?
Sounds
Nope.
like a pig.
Nope.
Oh, what it was.
Play it again.
Or a chainsaw.
It's a human making a noise.
Play it again.
I have no idea.
You know what it kind of sounds like? It sounds like the little door stopper.
No.
Where, like you flick it and just kind of slow it up.
It's a human making a noise.
And it's not a
Snoring?
farting sound?
No. It's human.
Snoring?
All right.
Is that a snoring?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
Got what? Anybody? All right. It's The Grudge. The little thing from The Grudge, remember?
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
You don't remember that creepy noise from The Grudge?
It would have made more sense if you played one from like Predator.
All right. Here's the next one.
I know what
That's
that's
the
from.
T-Rex from
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yep. They used, do you know the animals that they used by any chance?
No, it's been a long time since I've.
They used an alligator.
Mm-hmm.
They used a pig
Yeah, I know the pig.
and a tiger.
What kind of sound does an alligator make?
It makes some sort of like growling,
I think it
chuffing
hisses.
sound. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they hiss.
All right,
Pigs are really common in monster creation sound effects.
distorting all those guttural sounds.
Yep.
All right, here's this next one.
That's the transporter from
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh.
Energize.
Yeah, mostly it's just musical instruments that they.
Right.
I think they did the what's the rainbow thing? The drums.
Like a xylophone? Or?
The xylophone or the harp?
The ones with the little dangly down thingies that they get the stick and they hit with the
chimes?
thing.
Wind chime? Oh, chimes.
Yeah, I think they like inverted it so it goes in and out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's a transporter one from Star Trek. All right, here's the next one.
Play that one more
Star
time.
Wars?
Sounds like some kind of car.
It sounds like nitrous going into a car.
Close.
Fast and Furious.
No.
No.
It's the light cycles from Tron.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Believe it or not, they use Atari sounds mixed
really?
with a motorcycle. So, yeah.
That's the thing I love about that time period of filmmaking for sound,
Yeah.
or sound for filmmaking.
They started implementing digital stuff.
Well, yes, but also all of that stuff is very analog in a way.
Yeah.
Especially in like using like synthesizers for making sound effects. That's a very manual process.
Yeah.
And today, like, it's almost too easy to grab sound effects.
Yeah.
I feel like people have to work for it a little bit
There's
more.
so many sound libraries out there. But the problem is like, I remember in GoldenEye 64, the same door sound effect for
That's
every
the
door.
worst. That's
Every
the
door
worst.
you go through.
Didn't matter. Screen door,
Nothing.
sliding
The
doors.
sound. And then to this day, whenever there's like some crappy jail scene like in Winter Soldier, you will hear that door sound effect.
That's the worst.
And all I can think of is GoldenEye 64 whenever I hear that.
I think door sounds are some of the most important in films.
Yes.
That really, like, you can nerd out on door sounds, and
Because people will associate memory with anything. And if it's not something new,
yeah,
it's just going to rip them right out of the experience.
exactly.
All right, let's try this new one.
It's like a whip sound.
There was a whip sound in there. It's a very iconic whip
It's
sound.
got to be Indiana Jones.
No. Try it again. Anything? Anybody?
No idea.
It's a DeLorean.
That's a DeLorean?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It does make that sound.
Oh, I guess
Hear it
where it
again.
like takes off.
Yeah, when it actually transports through time, that whip sound.
Just that sound of it breaking the
Nice.
sound
Yeah.
barrier.
So,
I didn't realize that.
yeah.
Okay.
Just random car noises and steam and a whip for the DeLorean.
That's a car.
Yeah. So, all right, ready?
What the heck was that?
Oh, come on. You guys know this one. Come on.
It's so
It's
familiar, but I
something
can't place
like
it.
Charging up.
I have no idea.
Who you gonna call?
Oh, it's the.
Oh, it's the-
it's the
Oh, turn
don't
it
cross
on.
the streams.
Yeah, turn the little packs on.
The power
Yeah, the
packs.
photon blasters or whatever that, I can't remember what it's called. So, all right, what's this one?
Well,
Time was that?
I'm getting dignified out of it.
Does anybody know how they made that sound effect? I forgot to look that one up.
I had watched something about how they had done some of the sounds, and I can't remember how the hell they did that.
I know that the
By the way, that's a Star Wars lightsaber.
thank you.
Yes.
I know that the laser beams, they had a radio antenna.
And they just hit it.
Well, it had these like securing
Like
tethers,
tension wires.
and they just slap it with a stick, and
Yeah.
you can hear the sound travel up
Yeah.
the tension
Yeah.
wire. That's
Like
how
Darth
they-
Vader's breathing is the inside recording of like a scuba tank breathing apparatus.
Yeah, the
You can do it
respirator.
at home by you stretch a slinky from a ladder and hit it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you get
it
same
makes
sound.
the Star Wars
the
sound?
blasters. Yeah,
It's the blaster sound.
it's pretty cool. Yeah,
All right, I got two more.
I wish I knew how they did like the opening of it, because I do know how they get like the more like the glow.
Wowing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's electronic interference.
I don't know about the. It sounds like glass breaking in a weird way.
But like sped up.
Yeah,
or something.
something. So, all right, what's this one?
No Tarzan.
All right, well,
That was just a man.
the thing it is a dude, but nobody knows for sure who made that noise.
It's a mystery.
Yeah,
They don't know.
Tarzan.
Tarzan.
they don't know its origin. They think it's from the 1932.
I thought it was
I
from
think-
the original black and white.
Isn't it 32?
Something like that. It came out.
There should be a true crime podcast, but it's not
for sound effects
about crime. Yeah, it's like who made this? Like we have to like do a deep dive.
You can do an entertain this spin-off podcast, Spencer. We'll
called
sponsor
Investigate This.
Yeah.
All right. Now I don't know if you guys have heard of this one, but
Exclamation mark.
all right. What is that sound effect?
That is the Wilhelm scream.
All right. Why is this scream in every freaking movie?
Because it's
Spencer?
amazing.
Well, it started by Ben Burt, and he decided to. I mean, I think from day one it had to have been a joke. It's not a good scene.
I think they just shoved a guy called Wilhelm off something, and he made that noise, and they happened to catch it on audio. Just went, that was awesome.
There's not a Wilhelm scream. There are Wilhelm screams.
There's
an entire
versions?
library that was created by this. I'm assuming that the guy's name was Wilhelm.
Okay.
And there's like 40 of them. So I mean, you could.
Do they all sound different?
They all do sound different. Yeah, but that is the one that has captured the hearts.
Well, what kills me is
people.
It's in every franchise.
well, the original movie, like Western that it was in, everybody that died in that movie had that same
the
sound.
Indians, the cowboys, the dog.
Just constant.
It's in Indiana Jones. It's in Star Wars. It's in Lord of the Rings. It's in Star Trek.
I mean, it's like a joke now. Like you got to put it in there, but
You got to sneak it in.
I heard it in an advertisement the other day. I was like, what?
or I guess I mean it's got to be like you're not paying anybody for it.
Oh, I mean, it's practically public domain.
Yeah, so
it's fine.
It's the Wilhelm scream.
it's still silly. Even when I hear it like in like John Wick or something like that, I'm just like, come on.
You guys too.
So
It's like, is that like your sound sellout? It's like, oh, they did a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
This movie's
In a
now
way,
garbage.
I feel that way sometimes.
Is that like your Alan Smithy way of for sound people saying this movie's trash? Just slip this one in there.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe.
There's probably just like rookie sound people who just like sit there like and having the Wilhelm scream. It's like, how do I work this into this movie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's
It's
some
like-
good compilations on YouTube of all of them.
Well, Spence, we are running down. Do you want 5 minutes to kind of plug what you do, where you work, what you're working on, how to get people's attention who are listening to you?
How they can contact you if they want you to work.
I work in Atlanta, but I'll work anywhere. So
As long as you're paying.
Yeah, my name's Spencer Poole, and if you need me, you know where to find me. That's where I'm leaving it.
All right.
Is there like some sort of bat signal?
For all the people out there listening to this, we're almost ready.
You don't want to plug your companies or anything like that?
No, I mean, I work freelance, so if people come to me and find me, I mean, you should plug the TV show coming out.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. It's not a finished product.
So, I'm refraining from talking specifically about what I do on the podcast just yet. So.
Okay.
But
He wants to be successful first.
Well, he wants to be a millionaire first.
Yeah.
So that he'll go.
I don't want to be one of those guys that talks something up and then it flops and everybody's just laughing at you. So
It's important to believe in what you do, though.
I do believe in what I do. I know it's going to be great, but I'll leave it at that.
It's Call of Duty, the movie.
I feel like we've left it in a good place. Although, it's kind of sad because I've got a lot more I could talk about. I think I over prepared.
No, it's totally fine. Go ahead. Give us a one more good.
It would spur us like down a long rabbit hole.
We got about 10 minutes. Go for it.
Oh boy, now I'm on the spot. I don't know. There's just so many people that can be talked about. I mean, Ben Burt is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why Star Wars is what it is because of him.
Okay.
E.T. as well. I mean, he like all those early George Lucas films.
So Ben Burt is your hero.
I think. In a way, I mean, he's kind of like the oracle who kind of brought like inventive sound design to, because you have to imagine like it's been a learning process, and sound for film hasn't been around as long as film has, and film as an art form hasn't been around that long.
Right.
So it's all of these people feeling their way.
Yeah.
And like how do I push the boundaries of my art form and like push the boundaries of what this can mean. And I feel like he's inspired. He's like the first like sound superstar. You know what I mean? Like people know that name whether you're into film or not.
Right.
Or to some extent. But yeah, he's very important. There's a lot that can be done. Early sound films were basically staged, plays.
What was the peak of Ben Burt's career? Would you say Star Wars?
In terms of notoriety,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So going from that, where like he's more or less industrialized sound, I would say, studio based it, kind of whatnot.
Sure.
What do you think about sound today? Do you think that it's kind of, are you of the art vein where like, you know, you're too good for some things, and that's not bad. I mean, I don't want certain crap in my work, you know. I'm not so like the Wilhelm scream. Would you ever use the Wilhelm scream?
I can attest that I have used the will.
Hey, you know,
Breaking news.
Nobody's ever too good
This
for
being
everything.
said, the film was terrible.
And it's like, you know what this needs? The Wilhelm scream.
Unfortunately, I feel like I've now, like, you know, if the director of that film ever watches or listens to this, then I've now told him, because he definitely knows the Wilhelm screams in there.
Oh no,
All good. He knows it too.
he probably won't. So I mean, like,
He probably doesn't listen to this.
sound kids today that are up and coming that fancy themselves.
I'm still a sound kid.
Yeah, but I mean, you've been working in the industry for a minute.
Yeah.
So, you know, somebody who's fresh out of college, they think that they have their understanding of everything in film is 100% complete, and they can be taught no more. You know, those kind of, you know what?
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, what's a mistake? What's the first mistake that somebody like that's gonna make?
Oh, I mean, it's the same piece of advice for all industries. Fundamentals.
Yeah.
Just get back to the fundamentals. You get overeager because you are looking for opportunities,
Right.
as everyone is, and so you're grasping onto things. You're biting off too much that you know more than you can chew, which I would not advise against. I
Right.
think it's a
Always
good
be
way.
busy.
Just be ready to accept a project. If you can do it,
Yeah.
you'll figure it out. If you can't, you know, that's
This
the way it
is
goes.
what I tell people, especially first day on set.
Give up.
That's why you don't work in movies, Tom. I tell you always want to compete to be the busiest person in the room. You know, if you're the guy that everybody sees standing around not doing anything, you're probably not going to get called back.
true.
So, you know, if you're
Also being a good hang.
being what?
Being a good hang.
Oh, just some cool guy to talk to. Yeah, yeah.
If people don't enjoy your presence on set, you're not coming back.
No, the experience of making a movie is just as important as being a good movie. You know, because if you're a terrible person to work with, eventually your career is going to come to a screeching halt.
You haven't met anybody like that, right?
Oh yeah. So, but that's just wherever you go. There's always entitled people, people who think that they know what they're doing. And for some reason, though, sound is the most humbled position, though. I don't know what it is on film. I've only met one sound douchebag that I didn't like working with.
There's not many, but the ones that are pretty bad.
Yeah. And they lie.
Yeah.
Like that guy told me so many things he could do and couldn't do any of it.
Yeah,
I knew more
they're
about
so
sound than
ready
he did.
to really fuck up.
Yeah. I don't know what's up with that. So, but we do have to wrap it up. So, if you don't mind, you know, it was a blast, and I know that you. I'm sorry I didn't really prepare you for as much as what we were going to talk about.
No,
but
it's fine.
it was a blast, and I maybe we can come back. We can do sound part 2.
Sure.
Part
Yeah.
two.
I've got
we
plenty
do.
to talk about.
Sweet. Yeah, it'd be fun. There's plenty of chicken. That's what we'll keep paying you in.
Great.
And cheese crackers, salami, and pepperoni.
Solid.
But moving on, we got to do our punishment. So, do you have a terrible movie, TV show, or video game?
I think I have to put Chopping Mall. on the
Chopping
table.
Mall?
Chopping.
Mall.
Is this a movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one of
And
us
I
is
think
going
it's
to be
on YouTube. You can watch it.
Which one of us is going to be watching this terrible movie?
Here we go. Please don't be me. Please don't be me. Please don't be me. Mitch.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Enjoy Chopping Mall. I would recommend, getting drunk.
Has it got great sound design?
No.
Well,
It has sound design, but it's not
Chopping Mall.
good.
it's good that you didn't pick me in that wheel, Spencer, because I'm the one who says he comes back and doesn't. So, that's Mitch. I say you can come back.
Here we go. Here's a trailer. Once this ad's over. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Now, I'm sure you all have questions, so let me introduce you to the head of development for Securetronics Unlimited.
Secure
Dr.
Trucks.
Stan Simon.
Stan Simon. What is this, the 80s?
Oh yeah.
Before I open the floor, I'd like you all to meet your brand new security team.
Oh, man.
Sector 101 series robots.
It's Johnny
that-
Sparks.
1 week from tonight at closing,
This looks like
will begin their patrol of the mall.
Alpha 5. Yeah.
Golly, all the hair.
Wonderful.
Shopping levels.
I'm excited for this. I can't wait to hear your review, Mitch.
When does this?
Allison, you've had yourself a very rough first week.
Yeah, Allison. She had a rough
The
first
funny
week.
thing is, it makes it seem like so much of the movie happens outside of the mall, but most of the movie happens in the mall.
Yeah. Was this after Dawn of the Dead?
After what?
Dawn of the Dead.
This is the
This
song.
It's got beautiful music.
It's like a
though.
romance.
Yeah, there's definitely some romance elements to
Yeah,
it.
the head is the Power Ranger. It's for
That
Power-
chick is just topless. Just walking around.
All right.
Alpha 5 has had enough, and she's not looking for
What are they
TV.
going in a spaceship now? What's going on?
It's locking down the
That's
mall.
Walking down the mall.
It's like
No more
industrial.
shopping.
No more shopping. The mall is closed. Murder, death, kill.
All right, go ahead. So I can tell, but that's not the.
Oh, she was
orig-
running barefoot, got shot with a laser beam.
That's not the original scoring.
Exterminate.
So, thanks so much, Spencer.
Thank you.
Yeah,
guys.
was a
thanks,
blast.
Spencer.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it a lot.
We're a fledgling podcast that's continuing to grow, and we'd love to have you back, and probably other people from because you and I are going to be working together again in the future
Yep.
for sure.
Absolutely.
And any connections that you have, any ideas, I hope you stay connected to the podcast, become a listener too, and you have any ideas or people that you suggest we bring on, by all means, we'll take
Judge our sound quality.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
that'll be first thing.
So,
Don't judge too harshly.
well, say goodbye, Spencer.
Goodbye, everyone.
All right, goodbye,
been a
Mitch.
pleasure.
Bye, Mitch.
Bye.
Goodbye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
And goodbye from me. Hey, goodbye.
Shout out to our listeners in France.
We do have a weird amount of listeners in France for some reason.
Yes. Because we've had downloads in England, Ireland, France,
Oh, I mean, there's
Germany, the Netherlands.
pretty much every continent in Antarctica. We have some
Yeah.
listener from somewhere.
That's awesome. International.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, we have somebody from